Hello, welcome back to another SwansCast podcast. I'm once again joined by Lee. So, welcome back, Lee.
Hello, hello.
Although I think maybe you are the problem at this point because you didn't come on for a few episodes and we got a couple of wins. You came on at the end of our winning streak for the first time to talk about any of the wins, and now we're not winning anymore.
Yeah, I know I'll have to drop out again for a bit.
I think I might have to get sacked at this rate, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll drop out for a bit.
But no, cheers for joining me. Obviously, we've got two games to talk about today. We got Swansea against Leicester and we've got Swansea against Watford. We also got a little bit to look ahead to this week where Swansea are travelling to Blackburn, the long road up there. Obviously, we do our 2 up, 2 down. We'll talk a little bit about the championship table. I mean, Leicester flying, of course. There's a little bit to talk about there. Not too much news and rumours to discuss, though, but there's a few injury issues that maybe we can get into at the end and perhaps just talk about wider stuff that's going on. Anyway, let's get straight into it. So last week on the pitch then, Swansea had 2 home games. They played top of the league's Leicester, who are basically having a walk in the park this season. It's been nuts, really. We'll talk a little bit more about their form later on. But Swansea went down 3-1 in what I think a lot of people are happy to say was a spirited effort against what is clearly a cut above in this league in terms of players on the field. I would argue they probably shouldn't have got relegated with the squad they have. I think Brendan Rodgers having his little paddy last year perhaps cost them. They didn't sack him until it was too late.
Yeah, maybe.
From my understanding was from the fan I spoke to as well pre-match. But yeah, so we'll briefly touch on that before we get on to last night's performance against Watford. But what did you make of the performance against Leicester then?
Yeah, it was all right. I was excited going into it because it was, we'd come off the back of a good run, and I thought, you always think you're going to be the team that can cause the upset. But they played well, and I thought we played well in the first half. We looked decent. Grimes scored a lovely goal, and we played all right. And I thought it was decent in the first half in particular. But then the quality just came through. Then it was like you could just tell that they were a cut above some of the players they've got, and then you could see the players they brought off the bench. They're going to walk this league, and we're a million miles off that, and there's no disputing it. I know people said we shouldn't just roll over and accept it. Like, we had chances. I think we had the Patterson shot, which was probably handball, and then you had the Low picked up on a loose pass, and the keeper made a good save. But then Leicester had about 19 chances. They literally could have scored another 5. I'm sure they could have. So I think it's just it's just too much quality. You're taking Vardy off and bringing on Iheanacho, and you're bringing on Connor Cody off the bench, who was in the England squad for the World Cup.
I was going to say, Connor Cody's only been in the England squad since 2020, and he's got signed this season by Leicester, and he's made 1 appearance.
Yeah, we just got
to kept out of the team in a championship. Like, how
you got to be realistic. We're just not anywhere near that level.
No, and they brought their manager in from Manchester City. Obviously, he was the assistant. You can definitely see inspiration and learnings that he has had from Pep, especially in the way that he's managing the squad and the team. They got very good depth, so he's able to do it. Very good depth of good quality, I think, is important as well.
Yeah.
Where literally their team, they don't know who's starting week in, week out in some positions, and they just rotate. Someone gets dropped unexpectedly, but the person that steps in is just as good and puts in a performance. And I guess nobody really throws a paddy for getting dropped.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a good sort of foundation then to kind of smash the league, I guess, because everyone's on board. They're all happy. They're all playing for each other, I guess, rather than themselves. And it's showing in the way that they're performing so far in the season. Daka didn't even come off the bench, for example, in this game. You've got Chowdhury come off in the Iheanacho, who's been linked to Champions League clubs, in January.
They got Vardy, Iheanacho, and Daka as a championship.
And that's without looking at the midfield of Ndidi, Winks, and Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah, it's silly.
Nuts. Yeah, I mean, there was enough plaudits about Leicester. Like, they come and done what I guess you'd expect them to have done. 3-1 the scoreline, probably a fair result. I think we gave it a good go. It's hard to go toe-to-toe with a team like that. First half. Maybe it's different if you manage to go in 1-0 at half-time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think that was massive. Like, I know they had plenty of chances, mind to score, but the one they did score was a bit lucky, and it was right on half time. So I think, yeah, if you go in, if you get a bit of luck there, and you can get into half time 1-0 up, it is a different game. But and it's not. I don't. It's not saying it's like a roll over and die attitude, but I think if anyone beats Leicester this year, they've got to have an off day, and anyone who's given them a game, it has to be an off day. But they were on it after the international break. They were fresh, and they just they were sharp. But yeah, you are right. I think going in 1-0 up at half time might have made a difference. And
didn't Cullen hit the post or something before half time?
Cullen hit the bar right at half time, and then we had a corner from that, and then the header nearly went in as well. So, going in with a lead would have been decent. The only thing I will say, just a little bit of a knock, and I mean, I'm not expecting that we would have beaten Leicester the way the game went, but the game was 2-1 for, it's just like it was 2-1 for ages, and we still had a couple of, like I mentioned, the Lowe chance and the Patterson one. And then shortly after that, then he took Patterson and Lowe off, and they were our two best attacking threats. And I thought, at 2-1, we were still in the game, even though if you were watching it, we weren't in the game. But the scoreline, you're still in the game. You can still nick a goal. And he took the two best attacking threats off, which I thought was a bit strange, which was kind of finished.
I do think when you're playing up against, we like to do the press thing. We did a bit more in the first half. But you said about the loose ball, low press to win that, I guess. But I guess after an international break, it's not so much of an excuse. But I think Patterson had quite a quiet game on the full balance of it. And I know in our group, John was kind of talking about how it's quiet as he's seen him all season. So just on playing devil's advocate, like maybe it's not so surprising to see Patterson subbed. It was in the 81st minute, to be fair.
Yeah, no, it is fair, but it was still 2-1 at that point, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he subbed in for Ollie Cooper, and last time Ollie Cooper got subbed on, he scored pretty much straight away. So
yeah.
I'm not saying he's going to do that every time, but you can at least understand a bit of fresh legs to go in and have a go. But I also don't think Ollie Cooper's necessarily been that great recently, aside from the Plymouth game.
No.
Last night as well, but we'll talk more about that. I guess the negative from this is we picked up a couple of more injuries. Josh Key and Josh Timone, both picking up knocks and playing through them in this game. Josh Key, maybe it wasn't his best performance, and we've got him from League One, and he's been having a really good season. Do you think maybe this is a Premier League quality team? Is that just part of his learning where he's up against that level above again, and some of his weaknesses are being exploited, which is fine because he's here to learn. Do you think you saw a bit of that with Josh Key in this one?
Yeah, I think so, but more so though the two wingers that, again, I know we're putting it back onto Leicester, but the two wingers they had were electric. Like, they were top quality, and I think you are right, because if he's coming from League One and you're playing against a Premier League level squad, you do get exposed a little bit. But the quality of those two wingers, they were brilliant. So
yeah, I mean, not necessarily a criticism on him.
No, you're right in what you're saying. I think
we've been raving about him this season at the Championship level, but maybe this is like, say, a Premier League club came in for him. That's the minimum he's going to be up against, perhaps.
Yeah.
So not quite there yet, but it's work in progress, and he's obviously clearly getting there. But playing these sort of games is only going to be better for him. But maybe I don't know when he picked up the knock in this game that he had to play through, so that could have had an impact as well, because obviously he didn't feature against Watford. I'm hoping he's back for the weekend. I don't think it's confirmed 100% yet, but
on the I think he is a miss, isn't he? He is a miss for us big time. But I think on the other hand, and I know we're going to talk about that as well, but Timon on the other side, I thought played actually quite well against the wingers. I know they swapped a couple of times, but I think he did quite well. I think he defended quite well.
Yeah, it's nice to see him kind of settling in, because I've been a little bit critical of what he's offered so far, to be fair. So to see him coming into his own a little bit is always a positive. He's had a lot of criticisms that he's not a left back and he's a left wing back. So to be doing well as a left back, I guess, shutting up the doubters a little bit. Matt Grimes' goal, I guess, is the main talking point from a Swansea perspective, and it shows the quality that he has. He doesn't necessarily show it, or hasn't been able to show it often enough under previous managers. I think he's always had that quality. Don't forget, when we signed him, he was a number 10. So it's not like he hasn't got the ability to score goals. But I think under Michael Duff, one positive he's shown in recent games is Matt Grimes getting into positions where he can show that. And his goal against Leicester was an example.
Yeah, he is pushing him forward a bit more, isn't he? We'll come on to the Watford game, but he had an audacious attempt from like the halfway line against Watford, which was great. It would have been amazing if that had gone in. But he does seem to be getting forward a bit more. That strike was lovely. I mean, to pull that down out of the air and catch it the way he did was brilliant.
Yeah, quality finish. He also nearly scored against Watford. The keeper made a fingertip save in the first half.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Matt Grimes getting a little bit more further forward. I'm wondering, like, looking at the balance of the midfield then, and maybe we'll transition into Watford in a second. Patino obviously alongside him here, Felton in the Watford game. Do you think it makes a big difference who he's playing with? Because I've seen a lot of conversation about that on social media.
Yeah, I think it will make a difference because Patino and Fulton, I think, are quite different players, aren't they? So Grimes probably has to change his game a little bit to suit who he's playing with. Because I think maybe Patino does more of the, picking the ball up in deeper areas, which allows Grimes to get forward, and vice versa. Whereas Fulton probably not so much, doesn't sort of do that role. So I think it does allow Grimes to get forward if Patino's playing more so than Fulton.
Yeah, okay, no, we'll talk about that in a sec then. Let's just move on to Watford. I think there's a lot more to discuss. As much as this was a defeat, we kind of expected it to be, and anything extra was a bonus. It's a shame that we weren't able to get a draw. I think at 2-1 there was, like you said, one or two opportunities where maybe we should have done a bit better and stole something out of the game. But also we can't really argue at the result in the end, I think. And I think the players made a good effort of it and they can be happy with that. But maybe that contrasts the performance against Watford. I'm wondering how much did putting that sort of shift in against a team like Leicester impact your midweek game? Do you think there's any hangover from playing something top of the league like that?
I don't think so. I would hope not, because we're still only 13 games into the season and we've coming off an international break. So I would hope, apart from injuries that we've carried over, like you mentioned about Key and stuff like that. I don't think that was much of an excuse for how bad that performance was against Watford.
Only saying it because for me it was a bit of a tale of two halves. Not that we were overly good in the first half, but I don't think we were overly bad either. But the second half did seem worse. Like there was a contrast to how the game was going between the two halves. I don't really think Watford offered anything in the first half. They had one or two breaks that they got an opportunity from, and perhaps they were the better opportunities, but they didn't really look interested in trying to create anything. No. Whereas in the second half, they came out a different team, I thought, and instantly were trying to play a bit of football and maybe put us under a bit of pressure, and we never managed to regain any form of control for the entire half.
Yeah, I think it's spot on. The second half was awful from us, really. We didn't really get out of the blocks, and I think I genuinely think, like, if teams like Watford, I'm really surprised at the dip in Watford, because I thought they were really poor. And I think you said that, didn't you, when you spoke to the Watford fans on their podcast, that they said how they guaranteed a win for us. So
yeah, and I was, as soon as he said that, I was like, why have you said this?
But yeah, I was so because when I watched it, they were poor as well. Like we weren't beaten by a better side there. It was the complete opposite. I was really unimpressed with them, which is a bit of a shock, really, when you think of what Watford have done in the last couple of years. So that was surprising. But yeah, when a team comes down and they're really out of form, like anyone in this league, they'll come down and everything will be steady. So, when you're playing that bad, you allow teams to come into the game. Second half, they probably thought, look, they're not doing anything. Yeah, if we get a bit of a sniff here, we can.
Yeah, but
we can get something. You allow teams to come into the game.
Do you know where this comes from? And as much as our lovely fan base loves the Swansea way so much, yeah, how people still get surprised at results like this after all of these years, because this has been a consistent problem since Roberto Martinez, since Brendan Rodgers, since Michael Laudrup. It's always been the same. If a team comes to our stadium to shut up shop, we can't break them down playing the Swansea way very often. And yeah, okay, you do on the occasion. And if you manage to get that first goal, it opens the game up because they got to come at you. And all of a sudden, you look like such a better team because you've got the space to play into. But until you get that first goal, we often struggle to get it. The longer that goes on, we look like the worst team and the other team comes into it. That has been a consistent trend for years. So not to make excuses, because I guess it's the manager's job to find a way to combat that. But when we are so vocal about the way we want to play, that is a trait of this playing style, ultimately. And sometimes the players aren't good enough to break down that sort of defence, unfortunately. I guess it's just something that what I'm trying to say is you can't overreact necessarily from a 1-0 defeat to someone who's coming down with that tactic, and it's worked, because it's not the first time it's worked. It won't be the last time it's worked. Not to say we shouldn't do more and we can't criticise what happened, because we can, but also it's not the end of the world. Like, really isn't the end of the world. And we'll talk about the game as a whole. So I thought, personally, I don't necessarily think we deserved to lose, but I also don't necessarily think, performance-wise, we deserved to win. I don't know if Watford offered enough of the 90 minutes to deserve the win they got. And if you look at their goal, what a shot, like what a strike.
Yeah, I mean,
that was.
It's a goal from nothing, isn't it? I mean, he goes out, he gets out wide, and then he just smashed it, and 9 times out of 10 it's never going in from there. But it's just such a sweet strike, and where it's gone, like in the top corner. I think we didn't deserve to lose the game. We definitely didn't, but we definitely didn't minus the refereeing decision, which we'll come on to. But overall, I don't think we did enough to win the game either.
No, I think a 0-0 or 1-0, if the goal had stood, you couldn't have argued with it.
Yeah.
Because they were coming down to get something from the game, and we didn't do enough to stop that from happening. So I think that would have been fair. Like, they did probably have, maybe they shaded it on having better opportunities slightly. There was one specifically in the first half, I think, that comes to mind. The open header, really should have done better with it. I think Rushworth made a double save at some point as well. That was a good double save. Other than that, I can't think of any clear-cut opportunities. But equally, people, when you look at the socials about this game, look, the performance wasn't good. I'm not defending it, but ultimately we would have gone 1-0 up if it wasn't for an officiating error, and that is a fact. There was no reason to disallow that goal, and it could have been the worst performance ever, but that still went in the net fairly, in my opinion. And if you go 1-0 up there, I don't think we lose the game, even if it's undeserved. I don't think we lose that game. I think we go on to win that game if that goal stands. And worst case scenario, if Watford equalise, is still not a loss. You know what I mean? But also, after we went 1-0 down, their keeper made like 3 outstanding saves. So as much as Rushworth did make saves and they missed an open header, their keeper made 3 outstanding saves. One of them was Darlin's effort, wasn't it, from outside the box?
Yeah.
Which he got down low to, and it was a header from quite close range, I think, that he saved as well. Punched away from...
It was Darlin again, wasn't it?
A Grimes free kick. Was it Darlin again?
Yeah, Darlin again got his head on one, because I had him in my bet to score.
He should have scored in the first half and tried glancing a header. Like, he tried being too precise with it, but he needed to get it on target. But that's another opportunity for us. And obviously Matt Grimes as well had that shot tipped away that was going in off the post in the first half, which was a quality save from their keeper as well. So as much as I think it's quite equal, really, in terms of chances, and the keepers had an impact on keeping the goals out of the net. So a draw would have been fair for me. You can't argue at the loss because we didn't do enough to win. But it's the refereeing mistake shouldn't be discredited, because it did ultimately have a massive impact on the game. And I think if that goes in, the narrative's completely different. Poor performance, but we won ugly, which a lot of people consider as a solid trait for a team. But
especially
instead,
championship.
But instead, there's a lot of people shouting out again that we need to change the manager. So
I think, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like first and foremost, that refereeing decision is bad, and we know how bad the officiating is in the Championship. It's ridiculous. Like you said, I think we go on to win the game, even though the performance was awful. So I think that should be out there. That's frustrating, but I will come on and talk about the performance in general. I know the referee made the mistake, but I think we were so poor in that game. I can't skate over it because it was a really poor performance, and there was mistakes from players, management across the board. It was wrong for me. Now, but before I get into that, I think, like you said, people calling for the manager's head again. It's getting ridiculous. It can't be. Like I said it before we did the video for the Leicester game, and I said I fully expected Leicester to beat us. Then the Watford game was bigger, but you can't have it all season now where we win a couple of games and it's everything's fine. Duff is doing well, and then we lose a game, and then it's like he's rubbish, get him out again. We can't have that all season.
yeah, but it's been the same.
If he goes on a massive losing streak and it's
you mean like Russell Martin did?
yeah, fair enough. But then some people were calling for his head as well. So I think
I was going to say it's been the same. It was the same under Cooper, and it was as much as Martin's got his like lover boys now that are out there that still can't get over him. It was the same under Martin that there was a vocal. We supported Martin while he was here, and there was always people calling for his head. We were reluctant even after that run to say sack him outright. I think we got to one point where we did say maybe now is the time unless he wins the next game, and I think he sorted it out at Bristol.
He always won though. He always won the game when it was when he needed to. When it was on the edge.
It's always been like this a couple of years now on social media, and I just think it's such a toxic environment. Do you want the club to be successful? And then you've got to go through the up and downs to get to that success. It doesn't just come overnight. And you've got to back the manager through the up and downs. We're only 13 games into his tenure. It's just ridiculous that maybe it doesn't work out under Michael Duff, but you can't say after 13 games we're 18th in the league. It's not good enough. There's only 4 wins in 13 games. That's ridiculous. We need to sack him. We need to get a new manager in. I'll tell you now a fact. Half the teams in the league have won 4 games. So does that half the teams in the league need a new manager? I've seen people saying we've only won against 2 of the wins were against Sheffield and Plymouth. Okay, so if you're saying we can only win against teams, if we can only win against teams that got promoted, I'll just like to remind people, Plymouth won League One last year and Ipswich didn't. Look at where Ipswich are now. Would you expect us to beat Ipswich based on that same conversation? Because that's what you're saying. It's only the teams that came up from League One. So that means we just roll over Ipswich then? Is it just because they came up? The fact that they're rolling over everyone, to worry about that. It's just pathetic.
I don't
honestly.
know if it's I don't know if it's just a thing in football in general now. But it seems over the last 3-4 seasons in particular, it's literally
entitlement to fan base is.
We've touched on this so many times, and win 2 games. Yeah. It's the best team on earth and lose. But football is fickle anyway. But it just seems to have got so worse, especially without our fans.
There's a reason the Championship is labelled as this competitive league that you don't know who's going to win week in, week out. Anyone could beat anyone, right? That is never, it's so true this season. If you just look at the league table, people are questioning our performance being in 18th in the league, and 4 wins and all the rest of it. If we had won last night, we're 2 points off the playoffs. So we're currently 5 points off the playoffs, which is 12 positions higher, 5 points. That's really not that much. If you just look at the form, the run we just put together, we're more points, yet only 3 positions away from relegation. So relegation is 7 points. 12 points to playoffs, 5 points. 4 positions down to relegation, 7 points. So it just shows how congested the middle of the Championship is right now. And anyone can beat anyone. And there's a couple of things that go in our favour and Duff's favour. People who are saying that we're in a relegation fight, in the bottom half of the table, right, there's only from 14th, which is Norwich, who are on a 0 goal difference. From them down, there's only 2 teams that have a positive goal difference, Coventry and Swansea. So Coventry are on +3, Swansea are on +1. Like, it's not outstanding. But the teams below us, you've got Huddersfield are on -10, Stoke are on -5, Plymouth are then on -1. I think maybe, I feel like they should be a little bit higher than they are right now. QPR -15, Rotherham -12, and Sheffield Wednesday -14. Now, for me, that suggests they are the teams in the relegation battle. Those three are the problems specifically, and maybe Huddersfield. If you look at the performances, the goal difference is going to kind of reflect that over a bigger game sample, and the difference that of that number between the teams above it just says there's a little bit of drift. I know you can get a deep dive, and I'm looking at things on the face of things here, but just trying to add a bit of common sense in, I think, as well. So that's the table. That's the teams around us. Another point I would say is Watford, yeah? So, look, Watford's form has not been very good lately. I did the pre-match video. Their fans were adamant we were going to win. They're really not happy with their situation. They still got parachute payments, but they're not really in a position to use them because they kind of paid for players up front, which has meant they're now in a bit of a financial situation, which is why the drop-off has happened, okay? So people are like, why are Watford down here? Well, that's the reason. They still got relegated from the Premier League since we got relegated from the Premier League. I'm sure they've got relegated twice since we got relegated. So why should we immediately be so underperforming when we lose to a team like Watford? Because what are they then? If they lose to us, is that not the same? In theory, they're one of the parachute clubs, and the way that people talk about the Championship is they generally are expected to do better. But we're kind of basing our recent success of being a Premier League club, I think, as a large majority of the fan base, in with an expectance to be higher than perhaps we should be or we are. You've got to earn that, is what I'm saying. And maybe we haven't earned it so far, but
we're a far cry from what we used to be, and I mean, you've got to be realistic. Like, financially and everything, we're at best a mid-table team, aren't we? We've said that's where our expectation is.
6th season in the Championship now.
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
Yeah, but that's what we can be at best, and that's where the expectation needs to be at. To be fair, like, I mean, that's where I expect us to be at the beginning of the season. I say anything above that is overachievement. But I on that though, I think, like, I still struggled with the performance. Like, I know, like,
I'm gonna go on to the detail now. Like, I just wanted to highlight the overreaction. I also was frustrated with the performance.
Overreaction. I think it's worth saying, the caveat, what we're going to say about the performance is, it's okay to criticize performance and we can analyze what goes wrong, but the overall feeling is, it's one defeat. Let's just calm it down.
Yeah. Just because if you ignore the Leicester game, which I would personally ignore it in regards to, like, you don't expect nothing there, it literally is one loss.
Yeah, and I want to. I will come on to it as well in a minute, but I want to say that the problems that, well, not problems, one game, but the problems that we saw last night in that poor performance, like, it's part of the manager, but it's not all down to the manager. There's a couple of other things that we'll touch on, but it's not all down to Duff. He got some things wrong, which they will do time to time, but it's not all just him at the moment.
Let's talk about the performance then. Enough about the overreaction. Let's actually talk about on the pitch. So, for me, people are saying about his selection being incorrect. And now the biggest issue with that is, I'd imagine, the inclusion of Jay Felton, because there really isn't much else there that's changed. What else different are people asking for? Because it's the same team, really. The reason Pedersen and Ashby are there because of knocks and injuries. So I think the biggest criticism they say about selection must be to do with Jay Felton in over Patino.
Yeah, I think probably, I don't know, it's probably a bit of a thought. I'll probably regret saying it in a couple of games, but for me, like, Patino's become the player that's, like, undroppable. This is like, if he gets taken off, if he gets dropped, it's like, oh my God, like, what have you done? He's sort of become that player for some reason. Now, not doubting he's a class player. He's been, outstanding player, no questions here. But there are flaws in his game. Otherwise, he would be playing in the Premier League. Like we said, we wouldn't have these players if they were complete players. Personally, And I'm not. Again, I got a caveat there because I'm not saying he's a bad player, but this is just a comeback to people who think he's undroppable and think he's all good. I do think sometimes he's a little bit slow in the midfield, and that was highlighted massively against Leicester. I know Leicester are what they are and they're a Premier League team, but that was just clear as day. He looked like he was running in quicksand in some of those games, and he's not fit.
Yeah, so this is my point.
So for all his good traits, and I would 100% start him every week. I'm not saying that, but he's not like undroppable.
Yeah, no, this is exactly where I'm coming from, right? People are really criticising Felton's performance last night. We'll talk about his performance individually in a second. But the wider issue here is the rotation, right? We basically played 4 games back-to-back when we won those games with the same team. And I've got the same conversation to have further up the pitch in a second as well. Because I think these are largely the issues that we're finding going forward, and maybe partly the reason for this form, and where teams are going to work us out. Patino, all season, has been... Not Patino, but Duff has been criticised for subbing Patino around the 60th to 70th minute mark, pretty much every game. All season has been criticised. Why is he doing that? He's our best player. This, that, the other. The manager doesn't know what he's doing. He's also been, from what I remember, rotated in most, if not all, midweek games to not start before coming back in the following game. So I fully expect him starting against Blackburn on the weekend.
Yeah.
And also, from what I've noticed, in the second half, he is far quieter than in the first half. Now, all 3 of those things I've just mentioned make it a no-brainer to me that he's just not the fittest player in the squad. And that's not a massive issue. That's why you have a squad. So that's why Jay Felton then is brought in to start the midweek game, because, look, Patino's on the bench. He can play the match, but he's not as fresh. He's not going to be as sharp. Fitness and like match sharpness are different. People say, they get paid enough, they should be able to just do it. That's not how your body works. No matter how much money you get, unfortunately, like, people are different, and physicality and fitness, like, I'm not an expert, but it should be quite common sense to know that there's no correlation to how much you get paid to how much you can run.
We're the right ones to talk about fitness. I went for my first run ages and I was absolutely tired.
But money doesn't make you last forever in a gym, does it? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just silly. People argue it all the time. They get paid enough, they should be able to just do it. That's just not how it works. So he's a youngster coming in from a Premier League team. So he probably isn't, championship. I know he had a season last year. I haven't checked his ins and outs of like how often he started, played 90 minutes, all that with Blackpool. Maybe if I get a chance, I'll go and look into it just to maybe look into this a little bit more. But it's clear as day, they get these packs on their back, don't they, when they're on the pitch about the monitor their fitness and how they're coping, And quite often the subs are informed by the data that those things are providing. So as much as he might still be performing and having an impact on the game, some of the signals might be coming to say he's getting to the point where maybe he's going to start to struggle. And especially in the midfield, where you kind of need to be fresh and you don't want someone getting overrun in there. It's not a shock to see the subs being recurring, and then the theme of him not starting the midweek, and he does tail off in the second half. So all these things together, I just think that's why he didn't start yesterday. He probably also wasn't brought off the bench because he's intended on using him from the start against Blackburn. Yeah. Now you could say, well, we were losing, you should have just done it to change the game. Yeah, well, maybe he trusts Liam Walsh and thought he could make a difference. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think necessarily Liam Walsh had a bad game when he came on. But that's why you've got a squad of players. You want to be able to use your squad to help get over the line through the season to make an impact and have the best season. Already mentioned Leicester's rotation policy, and it's working out for them because they're all fresh, all ready to go. They're all having an impact. If you can't trust the guys on your bench, you can't trust the guys that need to come in for your first 11, then that's a recipe for disaster, because now we're in a situation where you've got all these injuries, and so all of a sudden we're not good enough anymore because the first team's not available.
Yeah. I think
that's a bigger issue.
I do think on that point, like, we'll come on to. I think, like I said, I think it's threefold. I think, like, we talk about the selection, and I think injuries are playing a big part, but definitely played a big part last night in the performance. We'll talk about individual performances, and I do think there were some managerial mistakes as well as there will be. I do think, though, on that point, like, I probably would have brought Patino on when you lose in the game.
Yeah,
I can
I
understand
probably
why.
would have
No,
too.
I can understand why he didn't. I can understand why he didn't, but I would have liked to have seen him just change something.
Yeah, but he
Just when
changed
we're
the
losing the
formation,
game.
didn't he?
Yeah,
Slightly.
this was a little bit worrying because they started with a back four, then he went to a 5, and then went back to a 4, and it was just seemed to be a little bit
Yeah.
all over the
So
place, which I
I
didn't
I
like
didn't
that.
enjoy that at all.
No, I
I just
didn't.
wanted to say the Patinos. I would have liked the Patinos to come on as well, but it's not as simple as the manager is just being stupid. That's all I was trying to say.
Exactly. Yeah, no,
Because
I think
every
you're right.
time he's subbed off,
No,
there's a fanfare of what a stupid decision.
yeah,
But there's clearly more there because it's happening all the time, and no one, Matt Grimes don't get subbed off every week. So
no, and I think it's important because as well before we'll come on and talk about the tactics and that now, but like our injuries in terms of what we've got available at the moment. Like when I saw that team last night on the bench, I think we look really threadbare all of a sudden.
yeah,
Like you think like Wood is out, Cabango is out, he's due to come back. Key is out, Janelli's out for the season. There are a couple of other players with knocks. They had that
Sam
youngster on the bench.
Parker.
Sam Parker was on the bench. I think he's 17, 18.
Yeah,
It's like,
so this is, and he's not going to come on because Cam Congreve's been on the bench a few times and he's not coming on ever. He's not getting any minutes. And Nathan Choat-on is also on the bench and he still hasn't made his debut. So there's basically 3 players he's not going to put on the pitch.
yeah. So I think that is playing into a factor where, you haven't got a lot to choose from. Where was Kuharovic yesterday?
He picked up a knock apparently in the
'Cause
training
I think
before.
that was a miss as well. I think because we needed something different. But see, I think this is one of the reasons why the performance was so bad was that we're a bit all over the shop at the moment with injuries and who's available and So I think
so. Ashby came in for Key. I was just going to say about injuries. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
I was going to ask what you thought of his performance.
I thought he was all right in the first half. Like he just seemed like he didn't do anything wrong. I guess is what I should say. He didn't do anything special. Didn't do anything wrong. He was just solid. But then I think like most players, he didn't do much second half, and then he got hooked, didn't he? But I didn't think he played.
I think it's harsh to criticize individuals when the team starts suffering.
I agree with that. I agree. And also, I don't think the formation change and everything was great either, because then all of a sudden he went to a 5 and then back to a 4, and I think everything just became a bit of a mess then.
Yeah, but he was the reason he went back to 4 though, wasn't it? His injury, he had cramp or something. He looked in quite some pain, mind, on the watching it on the stream.
Yeah, he was.
Looked in some discomfort.
Down,
so
yeah,
I hope that's not a long term.
And then you look, I know injuries are playing a part of that as well, but you look at that back 4 at the end, and it was like Darling's playing right back, where he's out of position. You've got Pedersen and Humphreys as the middle centre backs, and they both like to play left-sided. And then you had Timon left back, who was not fully fit. So it's just like just seems like we're throwing a patch team together at the moment.
He could have put Choat-on or Norton on, though, couldn't he? If
he could have. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I do think he got some things wrong, like the change in the formation. I think as soon as he went back to the back 4, that's when they scored, because they went at Darling and then he scored that goal. I know it was a screamer, but as soon as we went back to the back 4, that's when they scored the goal.
I didn't understand why he didn't put Bashir Humphreys right back, because he can play across the back 3.
Yeah, I think he prefers to be more left-sided, isn't he, Humphreys? I think he's left-footed, but I think Darling's done it previously, and he's done all right before.
I don't know.
But again,
Norton. Just bring on Norton for Ashby.
Yeah, again, I do think he got some things wrong last night. I think, again, like he took Patterson off early.
Yeah, I think he did anything. I'll be honest, though, I don't think Patterson did anything in the second half.
Yeah, but I think Patterson's got more ability to create something, especially when the way he's been playing recently.
Yeah, he has.
It's
one of them. It's one of them, I think, where it's catch-22, where you take him off to try a different player who might, with a fresh pair of legs, create something. And then if it doesn't work, it's like, we should have left him on because he can.
Yeah, no, exactly. Hindsight is easy, but I mean, he took off Patterson. I know he brought on Ollie Cooper, didn't he? Again, he didn't play.
There's no one else to bring on, though, is there?
No, I know. We just haven't got enough attacking options at the moment, which is a bit worrying. Can I don't know if we're going to move on. There's one individual performance I really want to talk about.
No, we can talk about this.
A lot of people disagree with me, but when we did the transfer podcast, me, you, and Ben, and we were grading transfers, and I thought I was a little bit harsh on Jerry Yates because I wasn't that impressed, and I'm further not impressed. I'm sorry. It just doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry. Just I'm gone. It doesn't do.
What's the reason though? You're comparing him to what Peru offered?
No, it just doesn't. He doesn't do anything for me. I know, like, people will come back and say, "Oh, but he scored goals." Like, fair enough, great. That's what his job's do. But unless somebody is putting it on a plate for him, he doesn't do anything in the game. His general play is awful. And
I think,
like, people
that's
will
the
say,
player he is, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but okay, but maybe like we're not using him right. Maybe he's not like comfortable.
I think
with
he's
what
the same as. I think him and Liam Cullen are the same player when they play striker.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just not. I don't know. He's not doing enough for me. People will disagree with me, but he's not doing enough. I mean, every time the ball went into him yesterday, where we needed somebody to hold the ball up. This is why we were begging maybe for Kuharovic to come on. Every time we needed an outlet, he lost the ball. He didn't win, and I already had it in my head, so I was watching it closely, and I was pointing out to my mates next to me. Every time the ball went into him, he lost it. Didn't win a header.
Yeah, no, look, I don't necessarily discredit what you're saying. I think I have some sympathy for him, and I guess it's part of what I was going to say. My other big concern, and what my biggest issue is, and I guess with the formation change, it's all kind of linked. So the summer, let's go back to the summer. You said about the transfers. We graded the transfers. Jerry Yates was signed, as were all the other players, especially the abundance of kind of left wing backs and left centre backs and stuff that we have now. If it all fit, there's lots to choose from. For a 5 at the back system, 5-3-2 or whatever he was playing. That didn't work, and we've switched to a 4, but we have not. And look, the results have improved. I'm glad he's done it. I prefer the 4 since we've been doing it, but we didn't do our summer recruitment for the formation that we are currently using. So all these issues we've just mentioned, we haven't got any attacking options off the bench. Jerry Yates leading the line on his own, which I think is what the issue is with all those things you just said.
Yep.
Liam Cullen playing on the wing. That is the reason for these things, and ultimately it worked, and we had a good run. But we played the same front 4 exactly in those games in that run, and now and against Leicester. At some point, it's going to get stifled out. Do you know what I mean? You need someone to come in and freshen. You need to be able to change something. We can't at the moment. We literally can't. What would you bring in to start the next game if you got that 4? Maybe Liam Walsh can go. Cam. Maybe, I don't know. We haven't really had him there before for a game. Or Ollie Cooper comes in. Or to try Cam Congreve, but he's still a bit.
A lot of options. I do have sympathy because we haven't got a lot of options. But
so he probably isn't doing enough in regards to what we need from him right now, and I think that's fair. But we kind of shot ourselves in the foot a little bit here. We've signed him to be a 2 up top striker. So say he was playing off Dai or a big Kuharovic. We call him Dai, by the way, if anyone missed the last podcast. This is his new nickname. Say he was playing off him. Maybe that partnership sees more out of Jerry Yates.
Yeah,
leading the line on his own. I'm not sure you're going to get the best out of him.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think he's a very good number 9. In that he gets, when he has someone else up front with him and you can put it in the right area, he's a finisher, and I'm not taking that away from him. But are we getting into the territory where if we need to have someone up front with him to complement him, is that not just like a luxury player where
maybe it is
now
to
be able to offer something else? I don't know if I'm being a bit harsh. Like, I hope he goes on a cracking run and scores 20 goals this year.
Maybe it is now, but I think when he signed for a certain way of playing and formation, or the manager was adamant wanted to be the way forward, then it's harsh to say that that's his fault now, because maybe he's got to change his game and make changes, but it can take time. That can. Yeah. Some players do work better in certain positions, in certain play styles and formations. That's
absolutely.
a fact. So,
it's true. It doesn't. Some players sometimes it's not the right fit, is it, for what they're doing? So, I'm throwing that challenge out there. I want to see 100 times more from him. I want to see a massive improvement from him. But then again, I'll throw it back to Duff a little bit as well. Like last night, that wasn't working at all. every time the ball was going into him, we needed somebody to hold it up. If that was the game plan, and they did it 100 times and it wasn't working, why did they keep doing? A, why did they keep doing it? And two, why didn't they change?
But
put
did change
Lowe
it.
and him in the middle.
But that's what he did, isn't it? When they went 5 at the back.
Yeah, but he didn't. No, he didn't put 2 up top. I was because I was keen on that. I was thinking, now that he's gone 5, will he go 2 up top? Because Yates was not doing much, and he was a bit isolated, and he didn't really seem to do it.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe they were just roaming and rather than.
But I
mean, it was only for like 5 minutes, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen just maybe try something different. Like maybe if he put Lowe in the middle and put Yates ahead of him, maybe just try something, especially when you're 1-0 down. Like just change it a bit, and especially when we weren't doing anything going forward. You gotta mix it up a bit, but yeah. So a bit of a combination there on Yates and what Duff was asking him to do, I guess. But like you could have put Lowe up with him. He'd already taken Cullen off, so I think that option was gone. But again, we haven't got many options.
That's it.
Especially with Ginnelli's injury.
Ginnelli's injury, and the fact that we didn't really expect to play with wingers, I just think has left us very short now.
Yeah.
So now maybe we're going to a patch where this has been worked out, maybe you could say, or it's not working so much. We can't change it. We haven't got anyone to change it there with this formation. There's no one there. So we didn't sign for that really in the summer. Because obviously we wanted wing back, so you'd have all these players now. You got Yates, Lowe, Patterson, Cullen, Cooper, who's on the bench, and maybe Liam Walsh can play Cam, and Ginnelli if he wasn't injured, and Kuarovic. We're fighting originally for 2 striker positions and the one behind. Now they're fighting for 1 striker position, so obviously it's important as 1 or 2 striker based on the personnel involved. 1 Cam and 2 wingers. It changes the dynamic of who's available to go where and what impact they can have. I also don't think Jamal Lowe necessarily was that great last night.
No, I don't.
And I think his penalty responsibilities have meant no one's really got on his back.
No, I think it's fair. I don't think he's. I think that was one bad game from him though. I think with Lowe, he didn't play. I don't know. Not many people did play well last night. At all.
I find that he goes for these runs quite often into dead ends.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he didn't play well last night. I'm not going to say he played well, but I think in general, when our form turned around, I think he was a big part of that.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Maybe I'm being harsh.
No, you're right. I think he didn't play very well last night. I only highlighted Yates a bit more was because I think it was a general theme over a lot of games. Even though when we were winning, there was something that I noticed. Like you are right, when Lowe didn't play well last night, but I'm hoping it was just a one-off because I think he's been pretty good since he's come in.
Yeah. So why didn't our goal stand?
I have no idea. I think it was the Cooper.
Yeah, but it wasn't even. It was hardly even a hug.
Yeah, I was in the stadium and I couldn't see anything. I was just like, I have no idea. And nobody in the ground knew why. Yeah, it had been disallowed.
He had his 2 hands on the guy, but kind of as soon as the guy went to run away from him, he let him go. It was no tight grip, is what I'm saying. No, but the guy went down, and there's no force. You can see there's no force. He's conned the ref essentially. He's conned the ref, and you could argue you run the risk by putting hands on people in the corner that could happen. And okay, fair enough by the laws of the game, you do run that risk. But I just think that is a cop-out excuse for not wanting better officiating from referees. If that is illegal, it needs to be illegal every corner. If it is not illegal, it needs to be not illegal every corner.
You want consistency, don't you? You're begging for consistency. Like if you're going to give that, then there's got to be free kicks every time.
It needs to be every time. Every time. And there was 1 year in the Premier League where they decided to clamp down on this, and I think the first half of the season they were giving loads of penalties for stuff like this in the Prem, and everyone was kicking off about it. I don't know if you remember that. We had a couple. We had a couple against us. But you either do it or you don't. Make that clear cut, because you can't. If someone can comment on a social media post saying why was this disallowed, and their comment is, oh, well, if Cooper decides to put his hands on someone, that's the risk you run. On another day it's not given, but that's the risk you run. You can't say in a professional level game that as big as football, that is the risk you run. You might get away with it, you might not. It needs to be black and white. It has to be black and white when it's to do with scoring a goal.
But it's not, and that's why we have these problems. But yeah, I think it's a load of crap because we were saying about at the beginning of the season when they were talking about like the movement in the box. I remember that. But do you remember the beginning of this season when it was like, oh, the time wasting and like
that's gone out the window now.
That's gone now. There was loads of it last night. Watford kicking the ball away and taking it, and then it's
last season or the season before, it was the yellow card as soon as you kick the ball away. That lasted like 5 minutes. What was the other one? You got to walk off the pitch to the closest part of the touchline.
Well.
That's gone. Whoever makes these rules, the FA is there. They just on FIFA, like just or UEFA, whoever it is, it just needs to grow a backbone and sort the flipping game out.
Yeah, but I think like the referees are just like absolutely frightened to make these decisions, and they like if someone's walking off like the wrong part of the pitch, are they going to book them? And if they're on a yellow card as well, are they going to do it? They're not going to do it. They're going to bottle it.
Yeah, but he's going off the pitch, so what's a red? Just misses the next game. Just don't do it then, innit? If you want to stamp it out, that's how you stamp it out.
Yeah, that's how you stamp it out. They got to stay strong. They got to come up with these things, and they got to run with it. But they don't. They do it for a little bit, and then it just peters out.
I'm just sick of it. Something needs to change.
And then you've got another grey area then, because then like we might have a game now on Saturday where we might take a while with a throw in, and he'll book one of our players. He'll be like, well, where was that? Like the previous 5 games. Yeah.
West Brom, wasn't it? Manning last year. West Brom had a yellow card booking in the first half for taking too long in a throw in. But
yeah, and this is where it goes wrong with the officiating. It's just like it's just all over the shop.
I think the linesmen need to be given more power.
Yeah, but I think they do. I think again they do have the power, but they're too scared to make a decision. You saw the linesman last night where the ball had clearly come off like a Watford player or something, and he's looking at the ref. It's like you're 2 feet away from it. Make the decision.
Yeah, but that's it. They need the power, and they need to be like you're there to make a decision as much as the referee is there to make a decision. So
oh yeah.
There needs to be more scrutiny then of when they don't do it.
Remember the refs behind the goals as well, that they were just there and they never made a decision.
Are they there in Europe still, or are they gone?
No, it's gone now, yeah.
Right. Someone needs to get a grip on it, and it's a whole other conversation.
It's so bad, yeah.
But yeah, the goal should have been allowed, I think.
Yeah.
I looking at the Watford goal now. Very good strike from Sema. Is it Sema? Sema?
Yeah. Great.
Like when he hit it, I was like, it's not going in. And he's literally in the top corner. People say People say Rushworth shouldn't be caught at his near post, but I just think that strike was not getting saved. Jamal Lowe gave the ball away, I believe. Or at least he was involved in the play.
Yates.
Was it Yates? But did he play it to Yates and Yates give it away?
Yeah.
In one of them little intricate passing things they were doing. Yeah, okay, fair, whatever. But it was a very, very good goal. I think you said Darlin perhaps caught out of position then because of the formation change. Going back to Ashby, though, obviously went off with cramp. I've seen a lot of criticism saying he's not good enough. I thought he had one of his better games personally last night.
It's funny because I was talking to people last night after the game, and some people said he played well, and some people said he was rubbish. So yeah, it seems to be a theme that nobody can.
He's not Josh Key, and maybe he hasn't got a link with Cullen yet because people are saying they can't play together.
Yeah,
they haven't really played together much, so you can't just come in for one game after not playing for the last 6 or whatever it is. And I thought he'd done well.
I don't think. Yeah, I think you're right. He's not Key. I don't think he'd done anything particularly wrong. I just think he doesn't do what Key does, and I think Key is very important to the way we attack as well in terms of the tempo. We did miss that.
Yeah, we probably did miss that, but then that's what you lose by having Ashby there. But that's different players.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look ahead to Blackburn. Maybe what would we change going into this game? Because maybe rotation. I think there's limited options, but
yeah,
I feel like we've got to do some bits of rotation because you're not going to keep everyone firing on top form if they're going to start every game week in, week out, and then you're always limited to what you can change.
Yeah.
Do you personally think Liam Walsh is an option? Is he leaning for a start?
Not yet, not quite yet. I don't think for Walsh. I think Patino comes back in for Fulton.
Oh, I was assuming that as a given. Sorry. 'cause
Yeah,
he'd
no,
win
no,
for
yeah, yeah,
Fulton.
no. I think that happens. I think that happens.
I'm looking at
Problem is, we
Walsh
want to
though to
play.
come in for Patterson, but not for Patterson, for Cullen, but play in the middle.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's hard because we are really short of options at the moment. Really, really short of options, especially going forward.
The way I see that change is Walsh goes cam, maybe Patterson can go out wide, Cullen goes
Yeah,
to the bench or starts, depends if you want to drop Yates, I guess. If Kuarovic is still injured, you've got a striker on the bench then.
yeah, yeah. Makes sense.
I feel like
That's the
we're
only
not
thing
going to
you
know if
can.
Walsh is capable unless we use him in that position.
I,
It's either him or Ollie Cooper, isn't it? And Ollie Cooper can play across the front three, so maybe a victim of versatility, he's good to have on a bench.
yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that's the only thing you can do. Really, I'm really struggling to see what you can change at the moment, unless you put Lowe through the middle as another option. But I don't think he's not a lone striker type of player, is he?
Yeah, but if
So
you're going to put him through the middle, you're going to leave yourself short of options out wide.
yeah, well, yeah, you are. Unless you could play Lowe as a 10. Yeah, I don't know. Again, we're struggling. Really, I think we are quite struggling with options up top at the moment.
I mean, you've got Congreve on the bench, but and I'd feel more confident including him, but he's not getting any minutes even at the end of games to suggest
No,
there's going to be any. It's nice to see people like Sam Parker on the bench, and I'm glad that he's including youth, and I hope there can be some involvement, but you need to see something, don't you, before you can start chucking them in.
yeah, yeah,
There is the one, the guy we got on loan from DC United who has been banging in the goals in the youth team. His name slipped my mind, so apologies. But he did an interview, or Duff did, in the fan forum, actually, Duff was talking about him, where he said he's going to be included in first team training soon. Now, he's only on loan. I don't know if there's option to extend. Apparently, what they said was he's on loan here because he wants to stay here and he wants to be here. So the intention is perhaps that if he impresses, which it seems like he is, maybe there's an option there to make that permanent. But we are short up top. He's banging the goals in the youth team. Can we not just include him in training and get him in the picture? Because he could have been on the bench last night, I feel.
yeah. This is what I mean. Like, put him on the bench, and then if we're again we're 1-0 down at home, do something different. Like I used to make the same criticism when Russell Martin was here. And that if we won, you won 2-0 down at home or whatever, and there's 10 minutes left, chuck an extra body up top. Like, why not? Like, just the man just seemed reluctant to do it now. I think that's again, it could be a fan thing where he thinks, if I chuck bodies forward and I lose 2-3-0 instead of 1-0, then there's going to be uproar. I don't know, but I'd like to see us go. Like, we didn't really go for it last night. Like you said, if we've got this guy in the reserves banging goals in, put him on the bench. You're 1-0 down, bring him on. Bring Kuharovic on as well when he's fit. Chuck them all on if we're 1-0 down.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I don't know what the suggestion is right now. It's a tricky one for Duff, and I think January can't come soon enough in a way.
Yeah, I think we're a bit. We are really threadbare at the moment. It's weird this season because we started the season. It seemed like, oh my god, we've got a really strong squad. Then it was not good enough. Then it was good enough again, and now it's not good enough again.
It's the change of formation and injuries, obviously.
It is, yeah.
It's just, as I said, a different conversation if you're only using two strikers or one cam. You don't need to worry about wingers for a start, and then Lowe goes up top and Patterson's behind Yates and Lowe, and Cullen's on the bench. Kuarovic is on the bench when fit. Cooper can come in to replace one of them as well. Like, all of a sudden it's just more there. Same players, but you're not maybe got a crisis.
Yeah.
There's not much option to change when you have the four positions there, I think, and that's the issue. And there's not much alternative. We haven't got pace on the wings for a start, really, other than Lowe.
No, we haven't. Ginelli's a big miss because I thought he was really starting to come into his own. He looked sharp, and then he got injured. So that was a shame.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at the league table. So obviously Swans are 18th with 15 points. Blackburn just refreshed 1 second. Blackburn are 10th with 19, so 4 points ahead of us. They did hit a bit of bad form recently, but they've managed to pick themselves up in the last 2 games. So they won against Sunderland 2-0. Sorry, I'm on the wrong one. I'm lying. I was on Sunderland's results, and ignore that. The last result was a 2-1 win against Millwall last night.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
They beat Cardiff 1-0 and 4-0 over QPR, but I mean, that's probably the one that got them back on track, you know. When I looked at our upcoming form and saw Blackburn slipping down the table, I was a bit like, okay, maybe we can get some in there, but I think it's a lot trickier again all of a sudden.
Yeah, I was just every game, innit? Again, I know it's cliche, but it's
It is, yeah.
every
Hard.
game goes either way these days. And I think we've got a really poor record against Blackburn recently, haven't we?
Not amazing.
So
I haven't got a on
away. I
to
mean,
discuss,
away. We never seem to win at Blackburn away. I can't remember. I'm trying to think. Did we win?
Are you expecting anything from it then, or do you think?
I honestly don't know in the Championship. Like literally, we were so bad last night. You'd say no, but then we could turn around and play really well on Saturday and get a big win. So
Yeah,
I still don't really know where we are in terms of, you know, I know we had a good run, we had a bad run, we had a good run, and then we've not played so well since the international break. So I'm still trying to struggle to see where we are. I think if you're pressing me for a prediction, I would say, like, you know, I don't expect us to get anything up there.
I think we can maybe come away with a draw. I think that would be positive.
I'd take a draw. Always take a point on the road.
I just noticed as well, we're going to look at 2 up, 2 down now, but when we were discussing our 2 up, 2 down, Preston, I didn't realise how bad their form had gotten, and they are still in 4th place, so they were in 3rd for a while, but they haven't won in the last 5, and they've only had 2 draws in the last 5, and they're still in 4th place.
Yeah.
Says it all about the league. That's why they're 15 points off first, and they're only in 4th after 13 games.
I think the league has gone so ridiculous over the last couple of seasons, isn't it? Like every time we've looked at the last couple of seasons, I remember I always did the thing where no teams ever won or rarely won like the 3 games in the week. Leicester have won 2 now, and so I would expect they'd probably do it. But
let's forget about Leicester.
Yeah, let's just not include them in this, but no, the teams never win the 3 games in the week, like the Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. And it just seems like every time you play a team these days, it's like, oh, they haven't won in 5, or they haven't won away in 10 games, or they haven't scored 1 goal in 3 games. There's always something.
Yeah. By that rule, we should beat Blackburn or get a draw because they won Saturday and they won yesterday.
Oh, shit, I shouldn't have said
By that rule, let's see if Lee's correct.
Win 3 wins. Yeah.
Okay, 2 up, 2 down. Let's have a look. So Leicester, easy one, 12 wins in 13. You don't want to keep putting them on the list, but how can you not? They got plus 20 goal difference after 13 games.
It's silly.
36 points. They're probably on for a new record. I think they did break the record of best ever start in the Championship when they beat us. I also think they broke a record of away wins or something. They're just flying. So there's not really much more to say on that. Middlesbrough was my second pick, or our second pick. They've won their last 5 games and shot up the table.
Yeah, it's mad. You just blink and there's a team further up that you put a run together. I remember when they were bottom with Sheffield Wednesday and there was a relegation 6-pointer.
Well, exactly. I think they might have won 6 in a row. I've only got the last 5 on me.
I think it was.
That's what has shot them up the table from last to 7th now. Joint on points with 5th and 6th place.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean how quick things can turn. We went on a 4-match winning streak. Maybe we have a couple of losses. Could have another 4-match winning streak, and we would be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And as for 4 wins in 13 not being good enough, well, that's only 6.
Yeah.
So Sheffield Wednesday then still winless, so it could be far worse, guys. It can be far worse. Minus 14 goal difference, sitting on 3 points after 3 draws.
That's rough.
Not looking good for them.
They better win the game before we play them again.
They got a new manager now, haven't they? They sacked.
They did
sacked the manager. There's more going on there behind the scenes that is contributing to this. I do feel a bit sorry for their situation.
I know, it's bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
It seemed like they spent ages trying to, it wasn't that long, but trying to get back to the championship, and it's just...
How quick it can go from positive celebration to like the complete opposite end of the spectrum, going up, winning the playoffs, for the manager to be not even going to the next season and it's just falling apart. So
it's so weird what's going on there. They sacked Darren Moore, didn't they, before?
Well, it was odd. Mutual.
Yeah, it's just odd. I don't know what's going on there.
Pay dispute. I think he just didn't sign a new contract. I don't know the ins and outs, but there's a lot of drama.
Yeah.
Huddersfield then, unfortunately, lost to Cardiff 4-0 at home. So poor result for them, slipping down the table. This is it. Like they're 1 point below us, but they got 11 worse goal difference. So in terms of us maybe not fully firing, a 1-0 loss to Watford is still a lot better than a 4-0 loss at home to Cardiff. I just feel like it shows a different level of where the squad is. So maybe we've got a little bit more to build on. Huddersfield seem like they're in a bit of trouble as well, as much as they're not currently in relegation. Who's their manager these days? Is it still...
It's Darren Moore, isn't it? He's gone there now.
It was his first game? Or second game? Perhaps after the weekend?
Yeah, I think it was the second game. I don't know if he had one before.
So, he's got a bit of a job to turn that around. They did beat QPR, which is a relegation match.
Oh, QPR. They haven't won in ages either. They've lost their last 5 games, I think, or 6.
Oh, we said we expected them to be down there.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah. So that's our 2 up, 2 down. Let us know what you think about across the championship in the comments. Normally do news and rumours and haven't got anything. Have you got anything?
No, it's all quiet. It's all quiet at the moment.
Much from a fan forum that worth discussing?
To be honest, no, I wasn't. It was, it was a good time to do it after we'd won the 4 games in a row. It was very,
It happened on the night we recorded, didn't we? So
yeah,
probably a bit. I don't think it was anything major anyway.
No, it wasn't. I still want the screens banned in the stadium for ordering food.
Oh, that's what we can end on. How was the fireworks?
Oh, well, I don't know if there was anything before, but I had to rush down after work, so I only got in I got in the stadium as the teams were coming out, and then literally about 10 fireworks went off. So I don't know if there was
sit on the same side as the tunnel, didn't you? So is that the side they were probably?
No, they came from the away end. It seemed like they came from behind the away end, but
didn't really get a good shot of it on the TV.
It was. I don't know if there was anything before the game before then, but if that was it, it was.
No, it was when the players were walking out.
Yeah. If that was it, then there was about 10 fireworks, and that was it.
Did not enjoy then.
Oh, I thought, that must be they must have been a bit before that.
I don't understand it. When I read it, I was like, why fireworks? Are they going to do like when Wales come out in the rugby and there's pyrotechnic fire stuff going on?
Yeah.
It's like, is that what they mean? Because that kind of, I get that in the stadium a little bit, but I don't really understand. Are they going to do this on every evening game then?
I don't know.
Or is it just because it's a Tuesday night and it's bonfire night next week?
I have no idea. I had an email about it as well. It's information. There's going to be a fireworks show.
There's no midweek game next week, and then it's bonfire night on a Sunday, so maybe that's why. But
they didn't go all out on the budget anyway, because there was about 10 fireworks.
Look, that's the budget that they've had to take away to have now cardboard cups in it.
Oh, and have the screens, 2 queues.
What else did they do? Because they said they were focusing on improving match day experience.
I had no idea.
That was the reason, apparently, for the fireworks, was an improvement to match day experience.
I get it, because when I went to watch the Napoli game, and they're literally 2 hours before kickoff. There's a DJ, and there's massive, the lights go on and off, it goes dark, and then they're flashing, and then they have big pyrotechnics when the players come out, and it does really it does, it doesn't sound amazing, but it does really build an atmosphere. Yeah,
but I think to improve the match day experience, there's a lot more than fireworks that needs to be addressed first.
Oh yeah, God, yeah. 100%.
Like you're saying about going there 2 hours early, then give reason for that.
Oh yeah, I would never go to the Swans 2 hours early. You wouldn't, would you?
No.
But I think
No, but if
it's
there's
just-
a reason, you might.
I think. Oh yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't now, but they'd have to do something in order to get people to go earlier and enjoy it. But it was really flat last night as well. I don't know if like they did that because ticket sales were low or whatever, but it just seemed really flat.
I think it was 14,000, I think they said.
Yeah, our attendances are really dropping off recently. I know they announce like sometimes they announce like 16, 17,000. I'm looking around the stadium, I'm thinking there's no way there's like 17,000 in here.
Well, only one way to get attendance is up, and there are 2 ways: cheaper tickets or play better.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. The atmosphere is probably. I think we like to say we got a good atmosphere, but we probably haven't.
No.
It's one corner of the stadium, and they don't even sing for the entire match. Not to criticise them because they're the ones trying to generate it, but it's not like a full ground atmosphere unless you just scored.
Yeah.
In reality, and they're all, but then it's a full ground groaning and moaning when it's not good enough. So we are part of the issue as a collective.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But there we go. Anyway, I think we'll call it a day there. So let us know in the comments about your thoughts on the recent performances. Is this just a blip? Do we need to? I mean, are people overreacting, or do we need to call it out more than perhaps what we have and not accept these results as what is suggested in some quarters? Let us know in the comments. As always, thank you for supporting us this far, and we shall see you in the next video. So have a good day, evening, whatever time it is.
See you soon.